I did want to talk about, the next thing on the agenda was this, we have to begin to come up with some ideas of where this archive would live. Who's going to host it, who's going to sponsor it. There's a lot of options. I want Helen to talk about the Clef Club as a possibility. She'll talk about the idea that the Clef Club was originally envisioned as an archival repository, so go ahead, Helen.
Well, when I was around before they built the Clef Club, the new building, we worked with the architects and the plans for the building, and we actually designed within the building a physical archive. And so, and I'd like everyone to take a look at it when we're finished with the meeting, physically see what happened. There's a large library room, and then off of that is an office for the archivist. And beyond that, there's the room where the archives are, and a temperature-controlled room for materials. It's a real archive. From the very beginning, people contributed a variety of materials to the Clef Club. Most notable of which is we have Jimmy Smith's organ. We also have the Nels Nelson's entire collection of articles, as he was a critic of the jazz critic for the Inquirer. We have Local 274's materials, their journals and books. And then we get a lot of other things, large record collections, sheet music, among other things. And Jack just did a survey of the things that are in archives for the second time around, because actually he did it before
yeah.
for the Pennsylvania Historical Society. So right now we don't use the library as part of the archive, but it was designed to be part of the archive. And so we have, like metal bookshelves, that sort of thing. And the things that an archive is equipped with. But the reason we never opened the library is that we didn't have a full-time archivist. And that's what that office is for. Otherwise, that material is vulnerable. We couldn't just keep it in an open library room. There was also a computer station there where we would have a MIDI program for composing, etc. So, in the long term, what we like to do is see, that part of it reinvigorated. We've been working with Leslie at the Bloxham Collection. The Bloxham Collection currently has an exhibit in the library, and she has been helping us in organizing and properly storing those materials. So we get like acid-free boxes from Gaylords, and that sort of thing, and sleeves for the albums and so forth. So so that we properly store that material. People generally willingly give us these things. They give us everything from instruments to their personal archives and their personal materials, and because they feel that this is the home for it. So once you take a look at it, you can judge the potential of possibly actually locating that archive here. I think that what's been mentioned is that we have worked with Temple over a number of years in relationship to this, and so we feel that a college or university is an appropriate partner, and we've really actually collaborated with Temple on a number of things. We had a long-term strategic plan developed through Fox School of Management, as well as a plan for the renovation of the Clef Club. We have a big capital project that is in the works, and have applied for the RACP for monies for that, and it's looking pretty good. So that's where we are, with that.
That's
that
great.
aspect.
One thing I'd like to add is I was, after meeting with you, Levitt, and you were saying you had a lot of sheet music in there now, and you had mentioned you had some original pieces.
Yeah.
I had to be told, because we're working on the Philadelphia Real Book, and I was talking to Aaron, the editor-in-chief over at Temple University Press, And when I told him about our conversation, he went, "Ooh, that would make a nice music book," you know. So I'd like to meet later with you about that, you know, because that would. I mean, if there's original music out there by Philadelphia folks that have passed or whatever, then giving you their, be nice for that to see the light of day, you know.
So this is one of the real fundamental goals of this project, what we're talking about. So I really would like everybody, if you have thoughts, opinions, feedback, I mean, Diane, you're the head of a major archival institution. Like, do people have ideas or opinions or feedback on where this should live? And is the Clef Club?
Well, of course, the Bloxon collection, we have our own collection, but there's enough, and you know, knowing the history of the Clef Club, I think it would be the ideal place. You know, we partner with them, so we would work with them, and we always do, whatever materials we don't have, any other institutions in the area, we recommend, and vice versa. So I don't see it as a conflict, and of course, I have extensive hours of interviews with Mr. Adams, who came up
Yes.
with the idea of the Clef Club. And so, you know, like, he was like another father to me, so I think, you know, I agree with what Helen's saying here, and we'll partner in any way we can.
The one thing that this archives would need, and which would really need to be a partnership with Temple or another university, is we've all talked about here the need for making this stuff available online, digitizing things, reformatting them, so that requires tremendous IT capabilities, you know, digitizing and managing digital assets. So that's the kind of thing where a partnership with Temple has a great digital department in their library, and so we would need that kind of resource to support, because you know, you might be able to hire an archivist and maybe one or two staff to manage this, but the IT requirements are going to be substantial, the kind that only a university probably could handle. So it would have to be in partnership with Temple or another university, yeah.
I think-
Or getting a grant to digitize,
Right,
and we
exactly.
could partner.
But just to
Right.
manage, like, you know,
Yeah,
if you
'cause it would have to
create,
get paid somehow.
once you
Very
create the
historical
digital
society
content,
would be a source.
you know, to manage it online, I mean, that's, you know, you need servers and you need people that administer, you know, manage the servers, and, yeah, I don't know that the Clef Club would have, you know.
Yeah.
Right, yeah,
Yeah.
and then, you know, the Pennsylvania Historical Society has a program, you know, for that as well, for, you know, being able to support that type of thing. But I also think it's important that in Philadelphia, because of its jazz legacy, of many great jazz artists that have come here, and the visitors that come to the city, that there needs to be a destination for this. And I think a physical destination where people could come, you know, see that
Oh,
material
absolutely.
and, you know where they could go to see that history.
And you were
So-
talking about the cafe as an exhibit space.
As an exhibit space, exactly.
Oh.
So there's,
beautiful.
why don't you describe that room then?
Well,
Right where you
when you
walk
first
in.
come into the Clef
Yeah,
Club,
right
Yeah.
on the,
that's the
you're right
first
there.
room that you encounter.
That's nice.
And what we've been thinking about is creating a destination by putting up a pop-up or a permanent exhibit about Philadelphia's jazz history. And so that people can just come by here anytime and see that material and text, as well as photographs, and even sound and interactive aspects, you know, to that exhibit. And I think that might be a great extension
Sure.
of what you'd be doing with the art.
and then you'd have the raw materials up on the
Upstairs.
fourth floor
Right.
for the exhibit.
And a nice thing about what the Pennsylvania Historical Society did, because you did the same project over at the African American Museum,
Right.
is that it makes the material very accessible. And so that we've gotten, well, when I was at the African American Museum, we've gotten calls from, you know, outside the United States where people are looking for a specific thing. And because of what you did, we can put our hands on it. People know, you know, they know where it is. They've come over, set in, a room where they could actually examine those materials, bring them down so they can take a look at them.
Yeah, what Helen's referring to, I directed a project for the Historical Society of Pennsylvania where we went into all the archival repositories that did not have professional staff. Like the African American Museum had curators and all, but didn't have archivists on staff. So we went into all these small, mostly volunteer history organizations, uncovered their archival collections, created finding aids to these collections, and then put those finding aids online in a searchable database. So now anybody, anywhere in the world, types in, Philadelphia Jazz or whatever, these collections will pop up that were previously sort of under the radar.
Which,
We didn't do it for the professional run places like Bloxon because they had their own professional staff to do that, but we did it for the ones that didn't have, so. And it was a 5-year project that I directed, and we did the Clef Club's archives. You can go online and look at a description of the Clef Club's archives. And we also did the African American Museum, which didn't have an archivist there, so.
and each one has its own finding
There's
aids,
a,
or there's a central?
There's a
site?
central database.
And what is that?
It's an aggregate of.
Yeah, it's called the Philadelphia Area Consortium of Special Collections Libraries, PACSCOL, yeah. PACSCOL, PACSCL, Philadelphia Area
Yeah, I got it.
Consortium of Special Collections Libraries. And if you then type, PACSCOL finding aids, you'll get to a site that has finding aids for all the collections in the greater Philadelphia area, from the largest professional run places to the smallest volunteer ones.
That's great.
And if you're looking for anything, could be, business and industry, arts and leisure, music, whatever, you can search those collections. You're searching all the collections across the Philadelphia area.
But I also like, again, housing here I think makes a lot of sense. But also just the collaborative activity with the Bloxon and the Clef Club, makes a lot of sense. And I mean, even for students on campus that may visit the Bloxon, they can make a connection to the Clef Club through the Bloxon. So that, and vice versa, folks that are
right.
here.
Okay.
So I like that type of, combination of two, signature.
And we get, for
institutions.
example, Jimmy Smith's nephew, I met him in DC. I think he's up at Millersville, but they were talking about having an exhibit on Jimmy Smith over in Norristown. And
Right.
I can't
That's
recall
really
his name right now, but I can connect you, Helen, with him.
Great.
Yeah, so.
Now, I'm
But
not.
yeah,
Okay.
like I said, there's enough materials. We have Grover Washington's collection, which is very extensive, over 250 boxes.
Wow.
In the Bloxon collection, but just the individuals that are connected with Local 274, the ones that are still living.
Yes.
Most people's homes are their archives.
Yeah.
Right.
So if you can establish a rapport of trust with them,
Exactly.
then, they'll let you into your home.
The Merritts have a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, Ave told me, Jimmy's
Oh,
got like
that.
40 boxes down there.
Right.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, if you've ever walked through the Clef Club, there are photographs all over the Clef Club. We got Bunky
Yeah.
donated a lot of photographs. We have
Bunky.
various things, and we've had people. There was a lady that Carla was telling me about that used to bring over students, and they would go through the halls of the Clef Club in those photographs, and she would build, a whole site visit, talking about those musicians and so forth. At one point, the Postal Service gave us a collection of all their jazz stamps. Blown up
Right.
like
Yeah.
this, and we did an exhibit up in the library
Oh, that's great.
about that.
Now, I'm not great at administrative stuff. I don't really understand all this, but could there be some kind of a permanent connection between Temple and let's say that the archive is here at the Clef Club, so you wouldn't have to rely on grants? I mean, could it all, I don't know how it would work, but a lot of university libraries have branches here and branches there. And some of them are off campus. Could that somehow be, the Clef Club, Temple University, something, or would that be desirable?
That could be a conversation, of course, like in the hierarchy, I'm the curator of the Bloxon collection, but I do have a dean. He was very progressive.
Oh, that's
and,
good.
He actually was at Villanova when they digitized some African American early 19th century materials,
Okay.
and got funding for that. So I'm sure that's a conversation we can
We've
have.
had a very
Yeah.
close relationship for a long time.
Right,
Oh,
and
that's
Leslie
good.
comes down here,
Right.
and she's, we have a digital center in the library.
Right.
He's very, puts a strong emphasis on digitizing.
That's great. Because
So,
I'm thinking,
with-
you know, there could be a temple, technically a temple employee, but that person works here, you know, something like that. So you're gonna have to always think, where's the next grant coming from?
Well, with
Just a thought.
following up on that, I mean, I think with Pew, they will usually extend like maybe 3-year grants, something like that. So this archive,
You
that
can't
if
hear.
we get, you know, the funding,
You can't hear.
oh,
Not at all?
Zero.
Can you hear anything? Little bit.
A little bit.
All right, well, I'll speak up.
Little bit louder.
So anyway, the point is that we would probably get like a maximum of 3 years of funding for like an archivist and operating expenses. After that
It's the
is
long
the time that you're
That's right.
like
Yeah,
here with.
well, that's what I was gonna ask, Louis,
Yeah.
was if there could be some sort of a permanent symbiotic relationship with Temple, for all of this kind of thing, you know, and, Diane, if you knew anyone from Temple that I could approach to possibly talk to about this,
Yeah, I would say.
you and I could go and,
The dean, I would say Joe Lucia would be the.
Yeah,
Yeah, he
I've
sounds
met
good.
him a couple of times, yeah.
okay, that'd be
Sounds
great.
like a-
Well, I mean, Temple has several collections. like
Right.
One you,
Right.
and so this could be another collection.
Right.
Just administered off-site is what you're saying, right?
Right,
Yeah.
that's the way
Yeah.
I was thinking that would work.
I know that on Drexel, what we do is, we have an MOU, Memorandum of Understanding. So whenever we want to partner with another university, that's kind of like the first step. And it's a contract that you fill out, and you kind of say what's going to take place, what kind of academic exchange. And then, obviously, the university wants some type of promotion, they want their name
Right.
recognition,
Of
et
course.
cetera. But it would start out, but it's, the MOU is kind of like the first step. Usually you do it for at least 2 to 3 years. And then that allows you to, again, use the name, and then maybe share grant money, stuff like that. So-
Yeah,
Utilize
'cause-
endowments as well.
What's
Yeah,
You can get something endowed as well to
Right,
help
yeah.
perpetuate past
Ah,
grants.
That's a good idea.
I mean, Drexel's, you know, done this with the Academy of Natural
Yes.
Sciences and other, so
Yeah.
that, yeah, those are major institutions that it's partnered with. So this would be small potatoes compared to some of the other ones that they do, right?
That's good.
And then
But I
we,
think
oh, go ahead, I'm sorry, go ahead.
the idea that the Cleft Club being a natural space really does make sense. In addition, I think there's this issue, just black culture in Philadelphia is the most underfunded but
Yeah.
most creative aspect of our life in this city. So something that creates almost like a toll booth for the Cleft Club to be able to generate resources, the idea of it becoming a museum and a library is also a valuable thing for the Cleft Club.